It's the Dark Reading News Desk. I'm Terry Sweeney, contributing editor with Dark Reading, and I'm joined now by John Bennett, Senior Vice President and General Manager of Identity and Access Management for LogMeIn. John, a pleasure. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Terry, great to be here.
Let's start with some context. What are some of the biggest challenges right now to managing identity, and what are the risks of not managing it? Well, let's take those one at a time.
Yeah, I think there's probably two or three key factors around what's going on in terms of the modern workforce and managing identity today. And the first, if you think about it, is that identity today it's about each of us, right? It's the unique behaviors we bring into the workplace, the personal devices, the applications that we need access to, and the attributes, where we're accessing the network from. And so I think that's one. It's different if we think about that somebody in IT has a whole different set of applications that they need access to than someone in legal or care or sales. And so for IT, the challenge I think in managing identity today with the modern workforce is, how do you sort of increase security posture for the company because of the rise of cybersecurity threats, along with providing sort of a user experience that allows the workforce to get to those applications and get their work done.
Okay. In that vein, LastPass has historically been known as a password management solution, but you guys have recently expanded the portfolio into something you call identity as a service, which is pretty great, and you've aimed this at small and mid-sized businesses. Why the expansion, and why focus on SMBs in particular?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. For over a decade, LastPass has been helping millions of consumers and thousands of businesses secure their passwords, have better password hygiene, and protect their digital assets. And we purposely built our product for small and medium businesses because we felt that that was an underserved part of the market, and that it had to be easy for them to purchase, to deploy, to manage, and for their employees to adopt. One of the things we heard from businesses was that putting a password management in place was kind of their first step in managing employee identity. And as they started looking at having a more complete solution, as they looked at the plethora of solutions out there, most of them are built for large enterprises, and they're complex and they're expensive. So the other part of that is we then sort of looked at that and said, this is an underserved part of the market. They really want a holistic solution, an all-in-one solution. And that's where we added single sign-on and multi-factor authentication to deliver an all-in-one identity as a service.
Okay. It feels relevant to bring up single sign-on here. Most popular websites and services lack out-of-the-box support for SSO. What do you advise businesses in that instance?
Yeah, so single sign-on, I think it is a really valuable part of an identity and access management solution, because again, what single sign-on does, it allows employees to access applications and services on the network with one set of credentials, right? So that's great. So you're reducing the number of passwords. Passwords, still 80% of breaches are from weak or compromised credentials. And so I think single sign-on is that's a great sort of component, but there's hundreds of websites and applications that we as employees live in that IT doesn't have integrated with their SSO solution. So what we really see is that by having a single sign-on solution plus a password manager, you're providing sort of protection over all the access points. So that's going to increase your security, and it's also going to reduce the number of passwords floating around in the organization, which is a good thing. And it's also going to allow you to have security policies in place so that you can make sure that the passwords that they are using meet the criteria of the business.
Okay. I'm struck by the reality that a comprehensive identity management solution has to, in this instance, satisfy both the requirements of the IT staff, but also not be so clunky that end users, are turned off by it. So this must be a regular challenge for you guys, like how to manage IT's demands against keeping it simple enough for very non-technical users to still be able to play with it. how do you balance those objectives?
Yeah, I think there's really three ways that we balance that. One is that we're really rigorous about staying true to who we're designing the product for, which is that mid-enterprise and small business users, and that consumer experience. And I think the one piece that we're bringing is by bringing a comprehensive solution to the workplace, but doing it in a way where we're providing granular control for the IT, but we're doing it in a way where it's easy for them to have complete control over the passwords and how the passwords are being used across the organization, how they're being shared, and the type of reporting that they need if it's a compliance issue or other things.
Sure.
But on the other side, it's all about employee adoption, employee education. And that's an area, I think, because we have millions of consumers that use the product, there's that benefit in terms of that consumer experience and how we can bring that into the workplace and provide that consumer experience for employees where it's very easy for them to use the tool and application. And I think that's the biggest thing is we have to be careful, I think, as a company in terms of we have customers of all sizes. We have large enterprises around the world using the product. We have over 61,000 businesses. But we don't want to create this bespoke solution that becomes overly complex for both IT and for employees. And I think that's kind of the balance is we've got to deliver a strong security posture for IT, but we've got to stay true to delivering that great user experience.
Friendly interface.
Yeah.
You guys also recently launched a passwordless login experience for business users. I mean, the ubiquity and the just unrelenting nature of passwords, like they're for everything. Can passwords ever truly be replaced?
Yeah, I think passwords. Passwords such like we could spend an hour on that. We won't. But they predate computers. They predate the internet. There's going to be a long tail. I think in the workplace, there's always going to be use cases where IT is going to have to manage passwords behind the scenes. But I think what you are seeing now is that you can do that in a way where you can provide a passwordless experience to employees so that whether it's getting onto their workstation or into the applications or on a VPN, that they can now they can do that through native biometric authentication in the devices or through SSO or federated identity integration. So I think we're now seeing a trend where you will see that for the employee, passwords will move to the background. IT is still going to have to be able to manage those in the background.
Sure. Okay. Great stuff, John. Thanks for joining us on News Desk today.
Thank you, Terry. Appreciate it.
We've been talking with John Bennett of LogMeIn. This has been Terry Sweeney for Dark Reading News Desk. Thanks for joining us.